Hi friends! Today is New Year's Eve, so it is the last day of 2024. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Claire. I am a Michigan-based crochet artist and small business owner. And it's time to do a recap on everything that happened in 2024 and what my goals are for 2025. So without further ado, let's get into the recap. I decided in March of 2024 that I was going to sign up for a craft market. And at that point, I had successfully made a couple of bunnies and a cow and like a couple other little things, but nothing major. So this was a serious undertaking, but I thought, I'm going to sign up for 2 markets total. That's all I'm going to do this year. So I signed up for one by myself in July and then one with friend in August. Those 2 market recap videos are the highest performing videos on my YouTube channel. It was right about the time I started that I was really big into watching YouTube on other crochet makers, and I decided in April to launch my YouTube account as well. In 2024, I did a total of 10 markets. Some of them I signed up for way ahead of time. Some of them I signed up for just a week or 2 ahead of time. But I did 10, which is way more than I thought, because I really thought I would just do 2 at the beginning and then call it good. But after the second one, I thought, I think I'm going to sign up for some more. I've got a lot of inventory. I like doing it. And, it seems like it would be a waste if I didn't at least try. So out of those 10 markets, the smallest market that I did only had 5 vendors at it. The largest market I had was the one I did with my friend, and there were 70 plus vendors at that show. The market that I think I did the best at, I was happiest at, and 100% would do again, had 33 vendors. And I had a blast. I thought it went great. And even though I was really disappointed in several of my markets, as anyone who's watched any of my previous videos on markets can see, I am so glad that I did it. Now, I want to talk about the takeaways that I got from doing markets this year. So out of those 10 markets, I had some truly great coordinators and I had some truly awful coordinators. The very first show that I had was not well run. It was not well advertised. And even though I made decent money at that show, I would never do that show again. Because the coordinator didn't advertise properly, did not coordinate with people that were running the rest of the weekend with the carnival. And if you have not watched that video, you should go back and watch it. Because the bathroom situation at that show was absolutely abysmal and is a key contributing factor as to why I would not do that show again. My worst performing show was 2 minutes from my house, and I'm not worried about that one, and I would do that one again because it's fun and it's short. So the key takeaways that I have, honestly, from doing markets this year is, number 1, research your markets. See what other vendors have said about that show. If other vendors did really well, there's a good chance that you will do well at that show. And if other vendors are saying that they had a really bad time at that show, listen to what they have to say. There's probably a reason. Another thing that I am taking away from this year that I will use next year is talking to coordinators ahead of time about how many of each vendor they let in their shows. I have had some shows where I'm the only crochet artist, and then I had one show that had 50 vendors and 14 of us were crocheters. And I didn't ask ahead of time. So I will be doing that this upcoming year for all of my markets, and I will ask if they are capping the number of similar vendors that they have. I don't mind sharing space at a big market with another crocheter, but if there's already multiple crocheters at a show, number 1, I know it's not worth my time, but number 2, I don't want to take away money from another crochet artist because I know how much time it takes to make those. I know how hard it is to get into shows and do well at shows in my area as a crocheter, and I won't do that to another person. So before any complaints come on that are like, oh, you're just complaining and other people have just as much right as you. Yes, I know, but I'm also trying to respect their right to make money. So not only would it be a waste of my time, but by me being there, I feel like I would make it a waste of another crocheter's time, money, concentration, when we could have been doing different shows on the same weekend and they would have worked out great. So I will be talking about that. And one of the last things that I'll say about doing markets is that I'm realizing just how much location matters. So I live in mid-Michigan, which is pretty rural, but we do have some bigger cities by me. And a lot of my shows I actually did further north than what I am, which are very rural communities. And I didn't perform very well at those shows. And I think part of it is that you really have to look at who would buy crocheted plushies. When you're looking at a very small community with a lot of people who work very low income jobs, where there's not a lot of opportunity and not a lot of extra cash to spend, I don't rank very high as a vendor that they would spend money at. And that's no shade on them. But I also think that I can offer my products at a show in other communities that could afford those products and have fun and do more shopping. And I think I would perform better in a market like that. So I will be changing up the location of the shows that I apply for this upcoming year. And so for 2025, I may not do some of those shows that are in like rural northern Michigan. And I may look at either really touristy towns during the summers when there's going to be a lot of people traveling, or places down south, like closer to Detroit, where there's a lot more industry and a lot of the neighboring cities to like Ann Arbor and Detroit, like Sterling Heights and Brighton and anywhere in Macomb County. There's going to be more affluent communities where I feel like my markets will be stronger. So now that we've talked about the markets I did, let's talk about some other things that I did as part of my crochet business this year. I built a pretty significant yarn stash. So if you've seen some of my cleaning my craft room videos that I've put out, I have a significant amount of yarn now. Some of it is partial pieces because of projects that I was working on that I now have leftover yarn for. And some of it is stocking because I know that there's things that I want to make that I am grabbing yarn for every time it's on sale. And some of it I just grab because I think it's pretty. But I now have a pretty significant yarn stash of a lot of different types of yarn. So I have a lot of cotton yarn, a lot of acrylic yarn, I have chenille yarn, I have blanket yarn, I have fur yarn, I have velvet yarn. And at this point, I'm pretty confident that if I decide on any given day that I want to start a project, that I have the yarn that I would need in my own personal stash. I don't have to worry about whether or not Joann's is open or Michael's is open. And I don't have to worry about whether or not that item is going to be in stock when I want to make something. So I'm kind of proud of myself for that, honestly, because I think I did a really good job sales shopping this year in order to build up that stash. Part of that also is that I was still learning how to make amigurumi at the beginning of this year. And so I tried a lot of different yarns to figure out what I like best. And what I'm finding out, like over and over and over, every time I try to branch out from yarn that I use into something I haven't used before, what I've learned is that I am a Bernat blanket girly all the way. Like I've tried chenille yarn, I've tried chenille home slim, I've tried multiple different brands of it. It breaks so easy, and honestly, I think it's really hard to work with. And as somebody who is also learning how to design patterns, sometimes I need to be able to frog a project back, and I can't do that with chenille yarn because it breaks so easy. So Bernat blanket, Bernat baby blanket, over and over and over. You put me in a Joann's, that is what I am grabbing. You put me in a Walmart, that is what I am grabbing. Always. Bernat. Now, this upcoming year, I would like to maybe try out some new yarns that I may have to order because I've never tried any Hobie yarns, and I've never tried some of the other like smaller brands. So I want to try them out. And I know that like Zach with Crochet Me Zaddy just came out with his yarn brand, and I'm really excited for when that comes out. I would really like to try it, and I would love to be able to give feedback on that, especially for other crocheters out there. Next on the list of the recap for 2024, I did a lot of commissions this year. Like I'm actually pretty proud of how many commissions I was able to take. Even though the number of them doesn't seem like a lot, I think I did like 13 or 14 commissions all total this year. I may have done more than that. I might be forgetting some. But a lot of them pushed me outside my comfort zone and taught me about like time management and how to take those orders, get them out, make sure people are happy with them, how I want to create an order form in the future, and the types of questions I would need to ask. So shout out to all of my friends and my coworkers and my family members who commissioned items from me, because it was super helpful and they were a lot of fun. So some of my favorite commissions that I did, I'm going to put right here. I made 4 of the Red Mills Crochet Winnie the Dragon pattern. All of them are custom colors. So I did a black and gray. I did a sparkly pink and teal. I did another one that I think was called like cotton blue or country blue. And I loved every single one of them. That being said, I think I might be dragoned out and I might be done with that pattern for a while. I don't think I'm going to take more commissions for that one for at least a little bit. I also, as anyone who watched my most recent video can see, I did the cat couch. Now, I will never do another one of these again as a commission because frankly, the amount of money I would have to charge for it to be profitable for me is pretty high. I think it took me over 20 hours to put the entire cat couch together, let alone material cost. I also have done multiple commissions that are really small. So just like some little custom orders for people, like somebody bought a miniature stingray from me, which was the Chez Du Coton pattern, and asked for additional colors because she likes to put them on the branches in her Christmas tree. So I had a couple of those that went out and they're right here. I did a lion. I also did some coasters, which were in acrylic yarn, and they were in the shape of chickens. It's a free pattern on YouTube. And a unicorn, an elephant, and a triceratops, and a cupcake. And I think I had several more that I'm not remembering now, but putting it out there, I got a lot of commissions in, and it helped me really build my confidence, and it's something that I will be looking at for 2025, but that'll come. Last, I think, but not least, is that I started my social medias. So back in April, like I said, I started my YouTube channel. And at first it was really slow going. I think I had like 4 subscribers, and I think they were all friends and family when I started. And that was just the people I told because I have not been super public about my YouTube channel yet because I feel like somehow it's a little bit cringy. But after my first market, I put out my recap video and it got 10,000 views. And then I put out my second market recap video and it got 18,000 views. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I've got people who are actually like care enough to watch my channel. And I got all the way up to 478 subscribers, which is what I'm currently sitting at. Now, lately my content has not been getting as many views, and I don't know if that's a YouTube algorithm issue or if people just got sick of me complaining about markets, but going into 2025, I'm just going to keep plugging away. I also launched my Instagram right around that time, which is currently sitting at 129 followers, which isn't a lot, but you know, I'll take it. And I mostly use that to connect with other pattern writers and to look for inspiration. But I also post my finished pieces on there as well. So here's my handle if you would like to follow it. As a result of posting on my Instagram and becoming really inspired by other people's crochet pieces that they've done, I decided that I was going to start writing patterns too. So in 2024, not only did I learn how to make amigurumi, get set up with markets, start my social media, and take commissions, but I also wrote and published 2 patterns. Now, the first pattern that I published is a very, very simple one. So it's a little tiny bird that fits inside of like a plastic Easter egg. So they're called egg birds. And then my second one was a rubber duck because I was looking for a rubber duck pattern and I could not find one that I liked because they didn't look enough like the actual rubber duck, like the bathtub rubber ducks. So now that we've reached the end of the 2024 recap, do me a favor, like this video, maybe leave me a subscription. That'd be great. Subscribe. It helps me stay in the algorithm, and it helps make sure that you'll see my content again in 2025, which I assume would be why you would watch this. So now that we're on the last day of 2024, it's time to look ahead and start making my plans and my goals for 2025. So I'd like to go in kind of the same order that I did my recap in. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is markets. I did 10 last year. My goal is anywhere from 12 to 20 this year. I think that 2025 is going to focus on 2 keywords that I'm going to try and remember. Number 1 is consistency, and number 2 is growth. So my plan is year over year to do a little bit more in every part of my small business. So in order to grow, I have to do more markets. So I figure if I do 1 market a month or the equivalent, there may be times I don't have a market in a month, and there may be times I do more than 1 in a month. But 12 minimum, and I'd like to do up to 20, but we'll see. I also am going to be a little bit more careful about the markets that I sign up for. So I am looking into some juried markets this year. So I would really love to work with the Michigan Makers, which is a trademarked LLC. They're very, very good, and they work all over the state. That being said, crochet with them is extremely, extremely competitive. I'm not sure if I would get accepted, but their application's open in a few days and I will be applying. The next part of that I'm going to look at is the location. So, for example, rather than do a lot of the rural mid-Michigan, northern Michigan shows, I am going to be looking at bigger shows, better populated shows. And now that I have some shows under my belt, I feel a lot more confident doing those bigger shows because I feel like I have the experience to back up the fact that I can be a good vendor. The last thing that I'm going to talk about with markets going into 2025 is that I want to focus on changing my setup up a little bit because I've done kind of the same setup with all the same products at all my shows this year. And I think that I want to change that up a little bit. So I am considering adding a 3rd table so that I've got a bit of a Z formation going on inside my booth. And so, it's a little added cost, but I think it would be worth it in the long run, especially as I branch out and look at putting new products or more products out on my tables. I'd like to have a little bit more space to keep things separated out into categories. So yeah, I think for markets, I'm going to do more markets. I'm going to try and do bigger markets, and I'm going to try and do better location markets. And I think that is a good starting point, and it's a good goal to have for this upcoming year. Next is inventory. So I talked before about how this year I really stacked up my yarn wall, and I got a lot of stuff put in places, got it organized, and I've built up a pretty significant stash. And my goal is just to grow that this year. So I got some gift cards for Joann and for Amazon for Christmas this year, and I plan on using those to make my craft room bigger and better. So I am adding another cube organizer and filling that with yarn, and I'm going to try and be more mindful of buying things, especially for products or for projects that I have planned. So for example, I will probably bulk buy a lot of yarn and do like 4 skeins at a time of some of the blanket yarns that I use the most. And just make sure that is built up, ready to go, so that when I have time to crochet, I don't have to think about going to a store first. Next on the list, commissions. My plan for this year is to be selective about when I open my commissions, only take as many commissions as I feel like I can take on, but get them out in a more consistent fashion. Because I know in 2024, I had people that reached out to me months in advance for crochet projects, and a couple of them I had to turn down because I just wasn't sure I'd get them done in time. And I want to be able to create a better timeline and better turnaround time for commissions to get out to the people they need to get out to. As of right now, I'm still a little bit iffy on taking commissions from people I don't know. So my rule is that you have to have seen me at a market, or I have to know you personally in order for me to do a commission for you. That will probably change this year, but I needed to have that jumping off point, and we'll see how it goes for the rest of this year. All right, next on the list is social media. So this year, I mean, pretty much same thing as last year. I plan on posting primarily to YouTube and Instagram. I do have a TikTok, but we'll see how the whole TikTok ban thing goes this year with the Supreme Court. I'm not going to get into that. But as of right now, that's not a priority for me. My priority are things that are already established. So I plan on focusing again on those two words, consistency and growth. On my YouTube, I want to get to a more consistent posting schedule where I have something new for people every week. I also plan on posting more projects on my Instagram as they get finished and using my Instagram more for pattern tests. Linking into that, I also plan on publishing more patterns this year. So I've got 2 under my belt. The one that I had tested went over really well. People seemed to really like it. I worked out the kinks on it, and Rupert the Rubber Duck has so far been good. Now, coming into 2025, I would like, ideally, to write anywhere between 4 and 6 more patterns. That's what I would like to contribute this year for my crochet business. I don't know if that's going to be a possibility, but that's the hope. As part of that as well, kind of to get my name out there, and also because I would like to do it in general, is that I want to be a pattern tester for other people. Now, I applied for probably 30 pattern tests last year, and I was not selected for a single one of them. Partly probably because I'm just not a big creator yet, and a lot of times those pattern tests end up going to big creators with big followings. And I'm hoping that this year I will be able to get a little bit better on that train, and I would love to test for other people. So that being said, if you are a crochet pattern maker, send your pattern to me on Instagram. Let me know when your pattern test is live, and if it looks like something I'd like to test, I'll apply for it. I'd love to. So my goal is not only to write 4 to 6 patterns this year, but I would also really like to do about 6 pattern tests. Now, as far as the rest of my online presence goes, I am still playing around with the idea of also selling my products online. That's not something I did in 2024. The only thing that I sold in 2024 was either physically at markets or online, but only patterns. I'm still deciding if I feel like I'm going to have enough time to divert to online sales and to making sure that I'm ready to print and label and ship and all of those things. But it's a thought. I don't know if it's coming in 2025. I hope so, but we'll see how things go. So we've reached the end of this video, and I just want to thank everybody who stuck around and wanted to listen to me blab on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day when you're seeing this video about how my last year went and about what I want to change and what I want to do better for next year. And I think, honestly, that while 2024 was kind of a dumpster fire of a year for a lot of reasons, I think 2025 is going to be a lot better year. And it's a year for me to focus on growing my small business, for connecting with everyone who watches my videos, and for just kind of growing and not only being inspired, but hopefully inspiring others. And I don't know, I am excited for the beginning of a new year. So if you stayed all the way to the end of this video, please make sure to like it and leave me a comment. Let me know what your crochet goal for 2025 is. I would be really curious to know. So I have to get on the road. New Year's Eve is my mom's birthday, so I am going up and celebrating with her and ringing in the new year with my family as well as my husband. And I will see you all in 2025.